Alright, due to fishing, this video is for you. We have my 2020 rod and reel arsenal. To be honest with you guys, it hasn't changed too much since my last rod and reel arsenal, like 2 years ago. But some things have been updated. So I'm actually filming this before bass season. I've been targeting a lot of different other species, so I don't have any like rigs tied on or anything like that, but you guys will get the idea when I start talking about the rods and reels. That being said, most of you guys know I've been on the Shimano team for the past couple of years, so obviously all of these rods and reels are Shimano or G Loomis. Alright guys, so let's get started. I'm going to start off with my spinning combos, then go from lightest to heaviest bait casting. Starting off with my spinning, as you guys will see, I use braid to fluorocarbon on all of my spinning reels. It's definitely the best way to manage your line and to have high sensitivity yet stay stealthy underwater. So that being said, we're going to start off with my walleye jigging rod. This guy only comes out once a year or twice a year when I'm jigging for walleye. So this is an IMX 76S SJR. It's 6'4" and it's rated an 1/8 to 3/8 of an ounce. When you're jigging for walleye, you want that shorter rod so you can jig right by the boat. And yeah, like I said, I use this when I go down to the Detroit or when I'm jigging in Bay of Quinte or something like that. But walleye jigging rod is our first rod. Next up, we're going big. I actually gifted myself this last year. It's the NRX 902. Very, very popular rod. They stopped making it a couple of years ago, and then Shimano/G Loomis brought it back this last fall. So I gifted myself this. It's not the cheapest of rods. I actually don't have a reel for it yet, as you guys can see, but I plan to have a lot of fun with this rod. Now to some rods you guys have seen me use a fair bit. Oof. Oof, I knew that was gonna happen. Let me just talk about this rod and I'll go fix that. So you guys have seen me use this rod a fair bit. It's the X-Pride 7-1 Light Plus rod. It's one of my lighter rods that I use for bass fishing. On there I have a Sahara 1000 size reel, 8-pound braid to usually a 6-pound fluorocarbon leader. I like this rod for drop shotting and lighter rigs like a Ned rig or smaller grubs or soft plastics. As you guys can see, I have a panfish rig on there right now. But like I said, I use this a fair bit for drop shotting. I like a nice light rod with a faster tip like this rod has. It's super, super sensitive and it's very, very comfortable. And yeah, primarily just for drop shotting. So for my last two spinning rods here, we have probably my rod that I use the most and for the most amount of species. We have the Shimano Zodius 7-foot medium rod. Overall, really, really good rod. Nice softer tip. I use it for drop shotting. I use it for Senkos. I use it for lake trout fishing. I use it for pretty much everything. And on there we have a Stratic CI4 with 8-pound braid, and I usually use 8 or 10-pound fluorocarbon leader on there. And for my heaviest spinning combo, we have the Corrado rod. This is a 7.4 medium. It's more of a medium heavy. It's pretty stiff. I don't bring this rod out usually until the fall when I'm dragging swim baits for smallmouth. That's primarily what I use it for. I do throw tubes on it as well. On there we have a nasty 3000, one of my favorite reels. Great budget reel, $100 US. And again, 8-pound braid to usually 8 or 10-pound fluorocarbon leader. Alright guys, the bugs are absolutely awful in the shade, so I'm going to push us forward into the sun. I use both left and right bait casting reels, just my personal preference. I've learned to use both, and for some techniques, as you guys will see, I prefer lefties, and for others, I prefer righties. So onto the bait casters. As you guys have probably saw, my spinning combos are more multi-purpose. I have a couple bait casters that are more technique specific that I'll elaborate on a little bit. And one of those is my jerkbait rod. This is the 610 medium Zodius rod. It's not the medium light. I know a couple people like the medium light. This is the medium. I use it specifically just for jerkbaits and actually for my top water like poppers and smaller spooks and smaller top waters, anything that has treble hooks, I guess you could say. So the reason I went with the 610 is so I can actually work the bait while my rod tip's facing the water. Gives it the best action. And as for the reel on here right now, I have an SLX DC. This reel can absolutely sling baits. As for the line, I have 30-pound Para Pro, and I usually run either a fluorocarbon or monofilament leader. Fluorocarbon if I'm using jerk baits, and monofilament if I'm using top water. Now this rod you guys have seen a lot. This is my dedicated small swim bait rod. This is the 7.2 medium Zodius once again. As you guys can see, I'm a huge fan of the Zodius lineup. Nice, a little bit softer tip than some other rods like say the Corrado or the SLX. And as for the reel, we have the Corrado DC. Again, the DC technology can sling baits, especially some of the smaller baits that I use like the 2.8-inch Rhythm Wave, which is about that big. That's the reason I put this reel on this rod, is so I can get the most casting distance, especially in the wind. As for the line, I use 30-pound Para Pro once again, and a 10-pound fluorocarbon leader. And you guys will see me use this combo a lot, especially for baits like the Rhythm Wave. So my next two combos are more multi-purpose combos. First off, we have another Zodius. This is the 7.2 medium heavy this time, a little bit heavier rod. On there I have a Bantam and I have 14-pound fluorocarbon, so I'm not running braid. This rod I like using for chatterbaits, bigger swim baits that I can't throw on the medium, spinner baits, anything that kind of moves. The Bantam's a really nice reel. It's actually a one-piece frame, so you can feel a lot more. It's a lot more sensitive, I guess you could say. I like using it for chatterbaits a lot, so I have a little bit more sensitivity when I'm pulling out of grass, and I can detect bites and detect structure and all that stuff. So really like this combo. I use it a lot, again, more multi-purpose. And as I'm getting eaten alive here, let's go to the next combo. Again, more multi-purpose. As you guys can see, I have a steel leader on it right now for pike. But this is the Corrado 7.2 medium heavy. A little bit stiffer tip than the Zodius lineup. I like using this rod more for jigs and Texas rigs, more bottom bouncing stuff. As for the reel, I have the SLX XT there, my favorite SLX reel from the three that they make. And on there, right now I have 30-pound Para Pro, but I usually run 50-pound Para Pro on this rod. So I have two heavy rods that again are more multi-purpose. A little bit, I guess you could say. So this is an SLX combo. It's the 7.2 heavy rod with an SLX on there, and I run 50-pound Para Pro. And I mostly use this rod actually for like frogs slash heavier Texas rigs and all that stuff on there. Right now I have a fluorocarbon leader because I've been pike fishing. All around, this is a great combo. Very sensitive, nice fast tip, and a great budget setup. You guys have seen this combo a lot as well. This is the X-Pride 7.6 Heavy. One of my favorite rods that I own, actually. It's a great jig and flipping slash punching rod. On there I have a Corrado 200K workhorse reel, and I run 50-pound braid, and I usually run a 20-pound, 18 or 20-pound fluorocarbon leader on there. As you guys can see, most of my rods are over 7 foot. Just personal preference for me. I prefer longer rods, a little bit more leverage on the fish. I'm actually pretty tall, so I have no issue with setting the hook with longer rods or anything like that, but this is a great setup that you guys see me throw a lot. So next up we have my bigger swim bait combo, I guess you could call it. This started off being my big swim bait combo, but I outgrew it just because it's only rated up to 2 ounces. This is the Shimano Zodius 7.8 extra heavy rod, and on there I have a Corrado 200K, once again, workhorse reel. Doesn't have any issues yet, and I've been slinging 2-ounce baits on it for the past 2 years. So on there, I run 20-pound straight fluorocarbon, and like I said, I use this combo to sling bigger swim baits, usually from that 5 to 7 inch range. Great rod, a little bit faster tip, that's why I don't use treble hook baits on it. I also double this rod as a pike combo as well. So next up we have my big swim bait combo. I'm not going to go into too much detail in this video. I'm going to have a whole separate big swim bait combo video, I guess you could say. but I absolutely love this combo. This is an 8-foot Corrado extra heavy rod, great sensitive rod, not too fast of a tip. I actually throw my treble hooked big swim baits on here. So for the reel, I alternate between 2 reels. One of them is the Tranx 301. I have 80-pound braid and I throw it with an 80-pound fluorocarbon leader, and I use this for all of my pike applications or if I'm throwing swim baits in lakes that have a lot of pike. As for the second reel, we have this guy right here. Before we get started, no, I did not buy this. It was a gift. But this is the Shimano Monster Drive DC. I got a couple questions about it last year because I didn't show it too much on video, but yeah, it's the Monster Drive DC. It's a great little reel. I have 20-pound straight fluorocarbon on there right now, and I use this mostly in the summertime over my Tranx. My last 2 combos we're going to talk about are actually my glass combos. They're my cranking combos. You guys probably don't see them too much. I don't crank too much, but I do use them a fair bit later in the season / the fall. So first off, we have the Zodius 7.2 medium heavy glass rod. Great rod for throwing all crankbaits, wake baits, all the way down to about 15-foot crankbaits. And next up, we have the 7.6 medium heavy glass rod, and I don't really bring this rod out too much unless I'm fishing in the fall, and I use this guy for my deep crankbaits, my 6XDs, my 10XDs, all of that stuff. For the shallow one, I have an SLX on there, and I have 12-pound fluorocarbon, and as for my deeper rod, I have a Sitica on there and a 10-pound fluorocarbon. So 12-pound fluorocarbon, a little bit more abrasion resistant when I'm fishing shallower, and 10-pound to get my crankbaits super deep. Now the reason why I went with glass rods is pretty much their main advantage. It is that they're a lot softer than regular graphite rods, so you can cast your baits a little bit further in my opinion. And glass rods, they have a more parabolic bend, so when you're hooking and fighting fish, it's more of like a shock absorber, I guess you could say. It prevents you from pulling the treble hooks out of the fish's mouth. So again, you guys probably don't see these too often, but they're my most specific rod combos, I guess you could say, and have a very important role on my boat. Alright guys, so I think I lost about 1/4 of my blood volume filming that video, but hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I know a couple of you guys have been asking for it. Sorry if it felt a little bit rushed. I felt like I was a bug buffet, but yeah, those are the rods and reels that I use. It is subject to change, of course. My reels switch around a fair bit, and you never know when I might add a new addition. But that being said, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.